Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm OK Savage. I make art, I make music, and do a lot of weird creative stuff generally. So today's video, I just wanted to do sort of a little update, let you know what's been going on, what is going to be going on. Been feeling a bit naff recently. Basically, I've had a lot of chronic fatigue flare-ups. I've had a few illnesses already throughout the start of this year, and through all of this, I've not been able to work as much, do as much paid work, just brain fog, feeling bad, not happening, you know. One thing that this has led to is that I've been very skint, and I'm sure you're aware that's quite a stressful situation to be in. And the stress from that has been making it hard not just to do paid work that would help make me less skint and less stressed, but as well as making it hard to do that sort of work, it's been making it difficult to work on group projects that I'm a part of as well, which is quite bad because I feel a little bit guilty for not keeping up to stuff that I've said I'll do, essentially. Instead of working on those things, because I kind of still have to do something creative, otherwise I go a bit loopy. I have been working on bits and pieces of my own stuff that I can kind of get on with easily, that is stuff that I'm able to do without having to think about it too hard, little small projects, stuff I can manage with the amount of brain fog that I've had. You might have seen some of these things. Amongst them, there's been little short stop motion animations that I've been popping on my social medias. There's been a few kind of little side projects that I've been working on, and little songwriting shorts that I've been putting online where I just do a quick songwriting session and kind of record the process and shove it on there. So, like I said, I've been feeling a bit guilty for not keeping up to my end of group projects and things that I've said I'll do. Weirdly enough, doing the creative stuff for my own things, the little simple projects I've been getting on with, has not helped me to feel better. In fact, I've got a whole separate feeling of guilt around that, because I'm very aware of the fact that I'm not getting on with paid work, and I'm also aware of the fact that, showcasing my own creativity can hopefully lead to more opportunities to make an income from that. But I've been feeling this kind of conflict and this guilt around not sticking to any particular niche. Now, this is because if you've ever done any sort of professional creative stuff, you'll know that all the advice is to find a niche and stick to it like you are a dirty little barnacle and it is your wonderful great ship. And I've always found that really difficult because I've got a lot of really varied and wide interests, and so I find that trying to find a niche doesn't feel very natural to me. It's quite difficult to kind of pick one thing and sit in it. But obviously, that knowing that the advice is to find a niche to improve your reach, and knowing that when you're in a creative freelance situation, your reach is directly correlated to your income, and knowing that I am skint at the moment makes me feel a little bit guilty for being that way, for finding it so hard to pick a niche. I mean, for instance, I'll post some songwriting shorts and then I'll post some animations, and I'm very aware that I am buggering my own algorithms like that, because if I post it to TikTok, for example, they're gonna think, oh, well, we'll show this person to songwriting people, and then I post an animation and no one watches it because they're showing it to songwriting people who aren't interested in that, and you see the issue. So I was kind of looking into what I can do to find a niche that would be comfortable to sit in just to be a little bit more consistent with my online presence. And I kept coming across this same piece of advice, which is make the things that you like to consume. So I did actually have an idea for a YouTube series where I thought maybe I could do videos where I read out um, like an old story from the public domain, one that I like, sort of horror or sci-fi, just something short, and I do a painting inspired by it, and you watch the painting whilst I read the story out, because I'd watch that. I would love to have that on like in the background. I'd watch the hell out of that. So I thought, yeah, I can do that. And so I started working on that, and then immediately felt such discomfort with it because a where does the music come into it? Unless I make like a backing track for each one, but that's not the sort of music that I'd normally make, and it is a lot of work to do that per video. Um, I won't be getting to read my own stories out like that because, again, that wouldn't increase any sort of reach because no one's going to be searching for that. Whereas if I read, for example, like Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka, someone would be searching for that and that's how they'd find me, and that's the whole idea. But if I were to write my own short story and read that out, it would completely defeat the point of what I was trying to do there. But actually, I do really like storytelling. That's a big part of my practice. I do quite a lot of writing, so that kind of feels a little bit naff. And also just the fact that I would be having to create these specific paintings as though I'm doing a commission, but not necessarily like it's a different situation to a commission because it would be like this would be my main personal private practice, and yeah, I'm making these pieces that feel like commissions, which is a bit of a weird dynamic that I'm not entirely comfortable with. So I, as much as I would really like to watch that, I don't particularly want to spend the foreseeable future making that. Like, it might be nice to do a couple, but it's not something I feel like I would be able to stick to. So I sat down and I had a really, really big think about what to do about this because I'm like, well, what have I got? I've got my storytelling, I've got my music, I've got my artwork, I've got my kind of love of exploring different mediums, doing little bits of animation here and there, and being able to kind of step outside the box with materials and everything. And I quite like videography and photography. Uh, and so I kind of thought, what is anything that I could do where I would be able to pour all of this into it and stay consistent to it without having to kind of do what I have been doing, which is flitting from one thing to the other, or essentially like set up different social media accounts for all the different aspects of my practice, in which case I'd be running like 5 businesses, which is not sustainable at all, especially for someone with chronic fatigue syndrome. But I did actually come up with a cool answer, which is do a concept album. Like, come on. And it's weird actually because this is the same answer that I came up with when I was struggling with direction literally 8 years ago. Because at that point I'd realised that I had this love of storytelling and this love of music, and I wanted a way to combine them. And I did actually write a 12-song album that I performed quite a lot with my band. We were, gigging, performing it. And at the time, I had a really good time with that. It actually, like, whilst I was working on that and creating that, it did offer me this kind of big sense of direction and this big feeling of like, oh wow, I am working on something that I care about, that I love, and it was very all consuming. There were a few issues with it. Some of the issues were that I didn't have a lot of experience or knowledge in quite a few areas. So, like, when it came to trying to record the songs, I had no idea what I was doing. And sort of the recording, mixing, mastering process was a mystery to me that I just was not having fun with. There were some other issues as well. I had a kind of lack of life experience that's made it so that even a couple of years after I wrote the songs, I really couldn't relate to them in any kind of meaningful way anymore, which was difficult because it was very hard to feel them and to care about them as I was performing them after a couple of years of doing it. Um, Also, COVID happened, which wasn't great. Basically, the band fell apart at that point, which was a bit naff. Um, and I think also because I'd done it as a band project, not a solo project, I felt like overly reliant on that. So when that that group dynamic fell apart, when we couldn't, meet regularly during COVID, it kind of scuppered the whole project for me. And the other issue with it was that I I do still I did at this point, and I do still have this absolute love of visual arts, and I just wasn't confident about making that any sort of big part of the project. Whereas if I were to do that now, I'd like to make it, a proper linchpin of the project. Um, and also, I didn't know how to make music videos. I had no experience with videography at that point, and that meant that I kind of just didn't consider it as an option. Whereas these days, I have enough experience with videography to know that I'm kind of bad at it, but that doesn't put me off weirdly trying to do more of it and trying to do like animation and stuff. Like, I know I'm not particularly good at those things. I know enough about them to know that, but also I don't care as much these days. I would rather do something I'm bad at and get better at it than avoid doing it because I know I'm bad at it, which is not an awareness that I had back in that time. So, needless to say, I have this wealth of experience and skills and stuff that I've gained over the past 8 years that mean that I'm really excited to try making a concept album again, because I feel like something that brought me a lot of joy back then, I could just do 10 times better now. I can't imagine any reason why it would not bring me the same joy, and in fact, there's potential for it to bring me a lot more joy, and for me to make it better so that hopefully it can bring other people joy as well when they listen to it. Because I don't know about you, I love concept albums. One of my favourite artists is Ayreon, who does like big, like F off space operas. If you've never listened to Ayreon, go listen to Ayreon. He's so good. Like, Ian Lucasen, the guy behind Ayreon, helped me with my college homework once, which was the sweetest thing in the world. Like, we had to interview an artist, and I was like, do they have to be a visual artist? And my tutor was like, no, just any artist. So I just reached out and emailed him. I was like, can I interview you for my college coursework? And he was just like, yeah, sure. And it was a really lovely interaction, and he was so nice. But yeah, sorry, going off on such a tangent there. But yeah, hopefully I'll be able to make this thing, and it's gonna make me happy, and it's gonna make a lot of other people happy. And having said that, I'm still aware that with the videos I'm going to be making about it, about the process, making videos for each song, making videos about making the videos for each song, showing behind the scenes on making the songs, showing behind the scenes on making the artwork, all of that. Still not one niche, because it's very multi-faceted, multi-practice, multi-medium. I can't bring myself to give a crap, because even if it's still hard to find me, even if my reach still suffers, which hopefully in theory it should suffer a little bit less, because at least there'll be one tangible project going on that people can kind of follow. But even if my reach does still suffer, when people do find me, if they do, they'll find me doing something that I love and in a good place and being authentic and having fun, which honestly feels so much more important. And it's easy to say that, like, I do still need to pay the rent and everything, but you know, I want to share stuff that I'm excited to share. And I think that having a big project like this, it's going to take me probably like minimum a couple of years to do, that I can sort of bring people along with me on that journey from start to finish with it. I'm really, really excited for that, and I cannot wait to get started. I have been noting down a lot of ideas already. My idea at first, like, I sort of had an idea about it and thought, right, I'll make this into a kind of 9 song album. And then as I was going through the sort of plot points in the story, realised that this is bigger than a 9 song album, so that's gonna be fun. But yeah, basically, I'm really excited about it. Uh, Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed hearing me ramble about creativity and what I'm up to. If you're one of my Patreon subscribers, I'm going to continue talking in a minute about what side projects I want to still finish up before I get started with this, or sort of maintain alongside this. If you are not and you are seeing this video a week later when it's uploaded to YouTube, just thanks for watching. You're great. If you want to see how this pans out, subscribe to the channel. If you want to make me happy, like the video, leave me some comments, tell me about your own projects, what you've been up to, how you manage the weird life of being someone who just wants to make art but also has to make an income, because it's a fun dynamic, and I would love to hear your thoughts on it. I'll see you next time.